A lot of my work, people just look at it and they don't know the thought behind it. And when I tell them, they seem to, or I point things out on my posters, or I point things out on different examples of my work. They're like, you really need to have something, do you have this written down? I'd love to get closer to this one poster. This is my original Frosted Flakes collage. This was the first collage I ever made using a cereal box. It was created on March 30th, 1996, and it really was my main breakthrough, I believe, as an artist so far, because it was the first artwork I made using a consumer brand package as my material. And this was the first series, this idea of deconstructing the cover of a brand, but it led to literally thousands of collages in all different themes using consumer brand packaging, cardboard boxes, as my material. I call it now the birth of serialism, because after I first made this, I loved it so much that I started cutting up the covers of many other cereal boxes and ended up doing a series of over 700 original cereal box. Now I call them cereal box deconstructions. And I did many versions of the same box. I was very inspired by the Impressionist artist Claude Monet. One of the things that he did, which I'm not sure if anybody did before him, is he would do 20 or 30 paintings of the same scene or the same thing. For example, he had a studio, I believe, on the second floor of a building that overlooked the facade of the Rouen Cathedral in France, and he did about 25 paintings of that facade. And they're all different colors because they were done at different times of the year and different times of the day. And I think he might have even had multiple of them on easels. And as the light changed during the day, he would move from canvas to canvas. He did that also with haystacks. He did that with the Japanese footbridge, water lilies. I think he might have done it with poplars. Even though it's not Impressionist art or oil painting, I have done 50 different versions of the Frosted Flakes box, and each one is cut up in a different way, different shapes. Also, as time goes by, the boxes change. Even the character is different now than it was then. It's more computer generated. This is more hand done, I think. The logo of Kellogg's has changed, and the color scheme is still similar. You could still look at them and know those are the colors of Frosted Flakes. Maybe it sounds ridiculous to compare my cereal box collages to Monet's Impressionist art, but doing 50 versions of the Frosted Flakes box, I did 75 versions of the Cheerio box, probably 30 Captain Crunch, 25, 30 Rice Krispie boxes. There's certain brands that I kept doing many versions of. One time in 1998, I spent weeks doing nothing but Cheerio boxes. I think I did like 12 of them in a row. One day I'd love to have an exhibition at a museum where I have a room full of my 75 original Cheerio boxes, because I think they would look so cool together. To me, that's the ultimate brand. It kind of represents the whole life cycle, because it's one of the only foods I could think of that you give babies as a first finger food and that adults keep eating the rest of their life. The story of this particular Frosted Flakes box, since it had such a profound effect on my life, was that up until that point, I had been making art for almost 10 years. I started drawing, and then eventually I started making collages using different materials I had at home and at my office that I didn't need anymore. Stickers, labels, sell sheets, junk mail, photographs. And so I was in this practice of taking things and rather than throwing them away, using them in my work. That's not a new concept. I mean, many artists have used found objects. Picasso, I think, made the first collages and using pieces of newspaper and wallpaper incorporated with his drawings and paintings, and those are more mixed media. What I call a pure collage is that the entire image is made from cut pieces. There is no other media being used. So to me, a pure collage is an image that's 100% cut and pasted pieces. At this time, I had an office in New Jersey. I was running my natural food business, and my cousin was helping me out, and I drove him home one afternoon and went to go say hello to my Aunt Jean, my mom's younger sister, and she at the time, her kitchen had a lot of garbage in it. You know, she told me that the carting company was on strike, and could I please take some of this garbage? She tried to give me this box that had a raw chicken in it. And so it had like butcher paper along the bottom, and it had like chicken fat on it, I remember. And I said, you know what, no, I'm not gonna take that. But I saw this Frosted Flakes box, and I said, you know what, I'll take this. So it was an empty Frosted Flakes box, and it had like the empty bag. And I took that, and I said, gotta go. Gave her a nice kiss and a hug and said goodbye. And I went back to my office to keep working. And I used to make art at my office a lot then, because I lived in New York City, but I had more space in my office, and it was my office, it was my company, so I could stay after hours and work. And so I went back to my office, and I brought this Frosted Flakes box, and I don't know what it was. I don't know why I didn't throw it in the dumpster. I think I passed, 4 dumpsters on my way. I guess I just thought to myself, this is a cool, classic, iconic thing. I didn't make this collage right away. I put it on the floor. But a few weeks later, March 30th, 1996, I noticed the Frosted Flakes box on the floor. I had one of these leftover pieces of cardboard, which was the back of a writing pad I had just finished using. I don't know why I chose to cut the cover off the box and not the rest of the box, but I cut the cover off the box, cut it up into pieces, and glued it down onto this cardboard. And this was it. I tacked it up on my wall. I didn't put holes in it, but I put tacks around it to hold it up. Once I started doing other cereal box collages, I guess I realized, or I thought I had hit on some great new idea, and spent the next 3 years cutting up cereal boxes almost every day. All of my collages are mosaic. My pieces never overlap. So if you look very closely at my work, you'll see they're all next to each other, and there was something therapeutic about finding pieces that fit right into the little spaces. And there is some negative space still, but I guess it was up to the artist to determine when it was finished. Some of them that I've done have a lot less negative space than others. And I've also done them like this is on a piece of brown cardboard. I had started doing them on white cardboard, black. I used to do a lot of Cheerio boxes on a black board because it looked really cool. You know, it was a happy mistake, accident that changed the course of my life. I mean, I don't think I could be traveling around the world teaching what I do if the material that I use wasn't something that was so abundant and free and relevant to everybody's everyday life. So it was a magical moment for me, and this is it. Birth of Serialism.